This meeting is
Okay, so okay, welcome to this particular program. So here, as we know, right, we are going to look into the AI product management in IT. So what I have done is I have prepared some like basically I have prepared some preliminary slides which are actually going to be like an index page to that book. So in today's session, I'm actually going to walk through you people 15 slides totally on a high level, so that you will come to understand what are all the chapters covered, why are we even discussing these chapters in the first place, how are they interconnected, and why these capabilities are needed for a AI product manager. That is the context. Now, as we know, right, in the initial classes, maybe like 4 to 5 classes, we are going to cover up the basics of a product management. And then I will slowly shift the gear to generative AI product architecture, one by one. So just to remain focused, to actually focus on the first slide, here we are going to understand the fundamentals of a product management. How does a typical product life cycle look like, right? So going forward in this particular program, you guys need to forget about the SDLC. So predominantly think about PDLC, product development life cycle. Why are we actually discussing this? What are all the mindset and capabilities needed for a product manager? Now, now what I suggest you is you can parallelly take some running notes. Though the recording will be shared, the template will be shared just for your just for your reference or revisit. Parallelly take some running notes. Now, first we will get into the nitty-gritties of this particular slide one. Okay. So in the slide one, we are going to see, before we start learning the AI product management, we need to understand what product management actually is, right? Because your AI is going to amplify it, right? So here we are going to, so basically, once we are like from the tomorrow's session, once I get into the chapter by chapter, we will be discussing about B2B, B2C. Is there any difference between them? What is the difference? And how the product strategy adaptation plan need to be tailor made or customized. If it is a B2B, then what to do? If it is a B2C, then what to do? How to define a go to market strategy, GTM, like based on the context. So these nitty-gritties and the nuances will be covered when we are double clicking in the forthcoming session, chapter by chapter. Now we need to understand is certain things, right? What are the modern product managers are responsible for five main things. See, certain things will not be there in the slide. Okay, I'm just trying to put my thoughts. So the basically the modern product managers are responsible for solving the customer problem, bringing the business outcome, setting the product vision, goal, and the strategy, taking care of a prioritization, defining the market success. Let me just repeat these lines. First of all, to identify the customer problem, because everything begins with the pain point. Second is identifying the business outcome, or the no, basically the impact that needs to be delivered. What is the product vision? What is the goal? Then how are we going to prioritize it? And basically for your market success, what are all the checks and balances which we need to take care? Definitely for any project or product or program, you may need to define something called the CSF, critical success factors, right? Even at an engagement level, the same thing applies here too. Basically it actually comes with a variant of the product, but the fundamentals remain the same. Because unless and until, if you actually don't even know the definition of success, then how are we going to get it done? So we need to definitely look into the critical success factors. Now coming back to the basics of product life cycle, it starts with the discovery phase, and then trying to do a prototype validation, then you build it, then you launch it, and then probably you measure it, and it goes in a loop manner, right? So In the product discovery, we are actually going to focus on, are we solving the right problems? Is the question has been understood? Are we solving the right problems? Are we trying to address the pain points of our clients or customers? So sometimes I will be using the word clients, sometimes I will be using the word customers. You can even take your clients or customers as a surrogate for your end users. Okay. So now, coming back to the AI part, yes, you have a lot of AI tools which can be cut across your entire PDLC's cycle. Those things we will cover in the forthcoming slides. Okay. So, do you have any quick questions before I go to the next slide? I just want to check the pulse. Like, are we okay with this to begin with? You can
Yes, sir.
unmute and then tell. Okay, fine, good. Okay, fine. Now let me go to the next slide. See, the next slide, now we are see the slide by slide, you will get the feel that little bit we are shifting the gear to a higher complexity, because we need to get into the subject slowly. So in the next slide, means see, okay, now the point to be kept in mind is when I say next slide, it actually means chapter 2. So chapter 2 itself will go for a definitely four, no, 3 to 4 classes. When we are actually beginning the classes, basically, inside the program, every chapter will definitely consume 3 to 4 classes. Okay. So based on that only, I told you people that it will take around 5 to 6 months. Definitely 5 months. We will try to finish it within 6 months. Now the second slide is more on product discovery and the customer, customer insights. Now, why are we beginning with this? We need to understand, if someone is building the wrong product perfectly, it is once again a failure, right? With all the specification, all these things, I have built a product, but unfortunately I have built a wrong product. So typically speaking, most of the time for a product manager need to be invested in product discovery. Now let us try to understand some ground level realities. You have different roles here, right? You have a business analyst, you have a product owner, you have a product manager. Now let us go one by one. A product manager is typically a strategic role, because a product manager is actually going to own the entire product roadmap itself. Whereas a product owner is actually going to own the product backlog, right? Coming back to the basics of Agile, you have your product backlog, your sprint backlog, which is a subset of the product backlog, wherein you define the sprint, which is again a subset of the release goal. Right now, what does a business analyst does? Business analyst takes care of multiple things, no, depending on the context. Business analysts need to socialize the application. Business analysts need to own the requirements clarity in terms of creating the definition of done, in terms of creating the acceptance criteria, because definition of done may come with a technical flavor. So sometimes the business analysts need to take the help of the technical lead or a QA guy, all those people, developers. Whereas an acceptance criteria is purely functional in nature. So and also business analysts need to socialize that particular domain, that end-to-end application, identify the happy path, identify the failure points, identify the edge cases. All these things a business analyst does. Now, now coming back to this particular slide, right? It actually begins with identifying the customer pain point. Now see here, identifying the customer pain point itself have multiple ways to do it. You create a survey result, or you have some interview kind of a research questionnaire. Here we apply the concepts of a design thinking, right? So design thinking in itself is a separate concept. You bring in the concepts of a design thinking to do that empathy, validation, ideate, prototype, all these things. Now, the point to be kept in mind is these are cyclic in nature. This is not a linear thinking, right? So it is a cyclic. It is a cyclic in nature. Now the problem is Okay. Now the point to be kept in mind is we have some powerful frameworks to do it, right? Like in terms of your problem framing, how are you going to validate? There is actually something called a jobs to be done. So these things we will go one by one in the forthcoming session. Okay. Basically, how I can leverage my 5 I technique. So one of the pitfall or one of the slippery no one of the slippery road is whenever you are doing a product discovery, devil is in the details. Do not stop at a preliminary level. Go deep. Keep going deep until the time you are able to conceptualize right from requirement validation to the implementation. So you may need to ask some questions, get some clarity, validate assumptions at the early itself. If not, every assumption comes with a cost factor tagged to it, right? Because if a change is getting introduced in the first sprint or the second sprint, then the cost to change can be minimized. Now you have freeze the architecture, you have freeze the design pattern. Later in the fifth sprint, sixth sprint, if a change comes which drastically demands a rework, then the margins go for a toss. Whether it's a project or a product, ultimately revenue matters. No, the product need to be shippable and sellable, no, yielding a profit margin. So these are all some of the things wherein you talk about the user personas, your customer journey, empathy mapping, all these things. And now in the AI world, yes, we have some specific tools which will enable us and they empower us to do it, to do this. But we should not forget forget the human in the loop element. Okay. So these are all some of the high level things. No, say for example, right? Many products fail because the teams begin with solutions instead of the problems. So here we will focus on customer research, user interviews, market analysis. You also need to do your competitor, no kind of a market analysis, customer personas, journey mapping. And to do this, we have multiple frameworks like 5 I, problem framing, mom test, jobs to be done. So the goal is to identify the real customer pain points before we start building anything. Okay. Now this MOM test in the class I will explain, but a quick answer to it is it is a honest customer customer insight without leading the customer towards the answer you want. Means basically you are not going with a preconceived notion. You are not going with a biased approach. Let the customer tell the pain as it is, right? So these things we will be, in the forthcoming classes, we will be double clicking. So just to summarize, one of the traits needed for a great product manager is fall in love with the problem, not just the solution. So you may need to keep this point in the mind. Now, once we discover meaningful customer problem, then we need to decide which opportunities deserve investment, right? You may have 10 problems, but not all 10 demands immediate attention. So when you take a conscious call out of these opportunities, this is where I'm going to invest. That gives the clue, that gives the trigger point for you to define your product strategy. So don't look product strategy as a separate element. It is the connecting thread which is going to connect your product vision back to the actual implementation plan. Okay. I'll take a pause here. You want to ask me any questions? Like one or two big questions, or I'll keep
Balaji,
continuing.
quick question.
Yeah,
So basically, you'll deep dive as we go further, right? You're just giving a high level. And
definitely. No, from tomorrow's class, we will be taking chapter by chapter, and every chapter will take 3 to 4 classes minimum. Here I'm just,
okay,
yeah, here I'm just giving the index page of the book. Okay.
okay. And any possibility of having some real life cases, like for example, you talk about mom test, right? So do you have anything? Of course, like we cannot have the real data, but at least some kind of a mocked up data and show how it looks like and all.
Yeah, definitely. In the class, I will be having some kind of a dummy data closest to the real-time data to socialize the concepts. And in our assignments also, I have prepared some case studies wherein you really think through on that implementation of the mom test. And like inside the, see, the point is first we will talk about the concepts, then we will slowly shift the gear to how to implement it, and then we will also see that okay, in the AI world, what would be the closest to tool which will actually simulate this. See, some of the tools I can actually try to do it as a freeware. So the tools part is something we need to selectively, consciously take a call. So those things I will be covering like one by one, when we actually, proceed inside the class.
Okay.
Okay, fine. So coming back to the fundamentals, here the mom test fundamentally teaches us to validate the customer problem based on ground level reality, means or like how to tell, based on actual the factual past behavior, rather than validating the solution through opinions. So that objectivity we may need to bring in here. So we have some techniques to do it, we have some do's and don'ts also, and also we need to see all techniques cannot be used in all the places. You may people should have clarity what is an example versus what is an exception. So those things, once you start doing some assignments, you will at least get that real time confidence. Okay, fine. I'll just keep shifting the gear. I'm just going to the third chapter. Okay, see, the third chapter is more on this. No, here your agile concepts are definitely going to help. If you are from a background of Scrum Master, Agile coaching, Agile consulting, and even a bit of project management, those capabilities can be definitely reused here. Now, what are we trying to now actually what are we trying to discuss here? Here we are actually trying to, okay, in this particular thing we are actually trying to discuss. I have a product vision, then how am I going to create a roadmap for it? How, what are all the proven prioritization techniques or frameworks, and how I can use AI to leverage it. But then understand, once you create a model, you may need to train the model, and you need to keep continuously improving the model, because models has their own limitations, right? So unless and until the data given and the algorithm used for the model is robust enough, we cannot reliably bank upon the output of the model. Somewhere in the forthcoming slides, no, I will be also talking about okay, what are all the metrics to define the reliability of the model. So here I'm just trying to focus that when you are creating a product roadmap, right, you may need to put like okay, Q1, Q2, Q3, what are all my priorities. See, this in itself is a vertical cutting or a slicing of the cake, right? In the Q1, on the element of product capabilities, I'm going to focus validating the MVP, my minimum viable product. In terms of my AI building capability, I'm going to set the data foundation layer. In terms of the go to market strategy, I'm going to position on how am I going to bringing the element of early adoption. So what I'm trying to say is, while you are clear on the quarterly, on a high level the roadmap, you also need to put what are all the different elements and do a vertical slicing over there, because every Q1 Q2 has a goal, and this need to be mapped back to your milestones in the place. See, even pragmatically in some companies, while you are building a product, you may still have a quarterly level planning, or you may still have a overall engagement level milestone that needs to be delivered, right? So those particular mapping needs to be thought through here. Okay, so that is what I just wanted to tell. Okay, other things you people know for sure, or basics of whatever be the framework, you use the framework while you are actually when the rubber hits the road. It could be a scrum, it could be a kanban, or a customized scrum and kanban combined together. And when you operate at program level, portfolio level, you may still need to have little bit on your safe and those things. But in product, you don't have the concept of program portfolio, but I wanted you people to just know the basics. Okay. Okay, now let me tell certain things. Can you people recall from your memory agile onion planning model? Can someone tell me what does agile onion planning model do? You should be knowing, right?
It's basically planning um, from a lower level to the higher level, like, going from
Hmm.
sprint release to program
Exactly.
project strategic
Yes,
level. That's
exactly. So
So
when we
it's
slice the
basically layers
onion,
of.
yeah, yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, I was just saying it's basically layers of
Hmm.
implementation, right?
Correct. Correct, right? So when you peel your onion, you have layer after layer inside it, no? So what I'm trying to say is you can leverage those concepts. Okay. Sorry, I was not aware that you were talking. Your voice was breaking. You want to tell something?
Yeah, no, sir. So
Okay,
basically,
fine.
yeah. Thank you.
Okay, fine. Okay, you can go on mute. I will continue. Okay, now see here. One thing I wanted to tell you have your vision. Then we have strategy, roadmap, execution, outcome. That is what your agile onion planning model says. If you just go to Google and type agile onion planning model, click on the images, you can just see it. Now, now let us little bit get into the nitty gritties here. So what are we trying to do? We need to define something called as a North Star metrics. Okay, this is the critical element. So what I used to do based on my YouTube videos also, I have already told this. Why don't you people create something called OKR driven product roadmap itself? Rather than creating a roadmap, then trying to understand the OKRs, your objective and key results, to put the building blocks of the OKRs. What are all the elements I need to do in Q1, Q2, Q3, Q4 so that this particular OKR is being achieved? So you may also need to look into something called OKR driven product roadmap because the OKR is very important. Whether it's a product roadmap or whether it's an agile transformation roadmap, I always go by creating OKR based agile transformation roadmap, and then I link it to an outcome based plan. When it comes to the product world, what is the North Star metric? What are the strategic themes? What I need to achieve as my quarterly priority? Then you do the reverse engineering to create the blocks. Don't create the blocks and then look for the goal. Define the goal and you come back and then see what are the different layers in the onion that needs to be interconnected. So these things we will see while we are getting into it. I will be slicing and dicing one by one, and I am actually curating some of the assignments wherein no, you can take some real time examples from different companies and then see. See, I will tell you one thing. The problem comes where is whenever there is a situation where you need to take a trade-off call, even in the interview, no one is going to ask us what is a product strategy. They will give you a situation or a scenario, and then they will tell you what will you do now. The first question you need to ask them back is what is my role here in this context? Because for the same context, product owner, product managers are expected to do something else. Agile coach, project managers are expected to do something else. Don't try to solve a case study without knowing your role in the case study. You immediately need to change your color or persona, and based on that persona your thinking should change. Okay. If I am an agile coach, the way I look at a case study will be drastically different, distinctively different when compared to a product owner or a product manager. Because my own OKR, KRAs, and KPIs will drastically change. So these things you may need to keep in mind before jumping into the solution part. Okay. Fine. I think this should be good enough. And in the prioritization framework, right, we have multiple prioritization. No, you also have your you also have your Kano model, those things. But WSJF is more of a quantified technique. So in the class we will cover more on these things. Okay. Okay. Now we need to put a caveat here, guys. Understand that like when you actually present it to your client, no, you may need to tell these are all the communication tools. This is not a promising document, because in a product the element of a dynamics is more, the element of dynamism is more. You are actually building it. Some of your assumptions may fail, some of your hypotheses may fail. On the go you need to change the strategy. It is not like a project. No, you have a fixed start date and fixed end date with clearly defined no clearly defined milestones. So that part of agility you may need to take care. Okay, fine. Now let's keep the ball rolling. Okay, now let's go to this slide. Here we are going to talk about from, okay, now I understood the now I understood the requirements. How am I going to map it back to my agile and map it back to my AI driven execution? So here what are we trying to do? Here we are actually building the, no, here you are actually bridging the gap between your strategy and the engineering. Okay, see, strategy is something like while we are going inside the class, I will give you a lot of examples. Strategy is something which you cannot copy paste it from the internet, right? And strategy is something what worked for that project may not work for this project. What worked for that project in the first release may not work for second release, because the release goals change. So that is something you may need to think through. Okay, that is, so a strategy cannot be formed by one single guy. You may need to also look from a technology feasibility, because in a product management, your business dimension, your technology feasibility, your UI UX guidelines, all three circles should intersect. So you need to find a sweet spot wherein it balances your business opportunities, your business priorities, your technology feasibility, because sometimes the tech stack can come as a problem. When I say problem, it's a limitation. And you also need to go by your prototyping, UI UX validation. So these three circles you may need to keep in mind. So here what we do, we are writing something called PRDs, not BRD. No, this is PRD, product requirements document. So here we actually get into, okay, in the class I will show you a real-time PRD. This is how a PRD has been written in some companies like PayPal. I'm just giving an example. Okay. Okay, what are the typical sections of a PRD? See, a smart interviewer will not ask you in detail. Some smart interviewers will just ask you one question. Just tell me the index page of the PRD. That's all. You just need to tell on a high level what will be the contents in it. Then they will ask you specific questions if they wanted to double click on a particular area. Okay. So first things first, slowly we need to change our mindset from project thinking to product thinking. Okay. So yeah, once we are getting inside the class, I will tell you something called a productized IT model. What do you mean by a productized IT model? How it is getting plugged in the landscape? Why does even companies go for productized IT model? And many of the companies are now emerging as a GCC concept, right? Okay, GCC as a service offering. So those concepts are interconnected. Okay, so okay, now one more thing here. When in this chapter we will cover our PRDs, user story, epics, features, acceptance criteria, your invest principle, definition of ready, definition of done, all these things. And how do you call out your risk? Okay, what would be the top 4 or 5 risks, and what under how we can basically mitigate it. One more important thing is, in the PRD, call out non-functional requirements also right from the beginning. Your performance testing, security testing, your interoperability testing, your operational acceptance testing, everything come under NFR, right? So while you are building the product, you also need to think about the runway to actually deploy the product, your architecture runway, your technical spikes and enablers need to be need to be thought through right from the beginning. So call out your NFRs also at the beginning itself while you are drafting a PRD. Okay. See, by the click of a button, AI can give you a sample, no, a sample template PRD. But what is more important is AI can help you better as long as your prompt is very robust enough. If your prompt is not very robust enough, we are ourselves putting a limitation to the AI, that particular algorithm. So somewhere in the forthcoming slides, we also need to spend some time on how to write an effective prompt. What is the difference between prompt engineering and the context engineering? Those things we will see going forward. Okay. So any quick questions here? Are you okay with this? Or you want to ask any quick questions? If not, I'll keep moving. Okay. 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 See, this is something called a product analytics now. Okay. Why do we even talk about this? We are talking about this because I need a data driven decision making framework. That is the funda. Okay. So start with why. Of course, you still need to know what. So we are the what part is there's something called product analytics. The why part is I want to make a data driven decision making. I will give you a real time example. When I was working for one of my client in a manufacturing, that particular client had a application called a dealer granular performance management. We call it as a DGPM. What the dealer granular performance management does is okay, that particular company is a manufacturing company selling cars, premium luxury branded cars. So this particular DGPM will tell at each and every retailer, at each and every franchise, at each and every the sales outlet, how does basically the sales manager is performing, how many cars we sold, okay, basically what is the CSAT score. So it is going to double click on each and every franchise outlet and then evaluate the performance or the metrics over there. Why? Because companies, when they want to change a strategy for the future releases or the future roadmap, they cannot do it blindly. It need to be grounded in solid evidence based on real time data. So whatever product you are actually building also, you need to have a dashboard or a mechanism to view the analytics part of it. Some most of the projects we try to build it in the Tableau because Tableau has lot of integrated components. You can just drag and drop the widgets. You can also use basically companies are also using a Power BI. So these are the two tools from a reporting mechanism, right? So here we are going to talk about what is the difference between output and outcomes. And here you are actually going to focus more on your testing, hypothesis, experimentation. All these aspects will come over here. Okay. Now, one point what I like to tell you people is there is a metric called a AARRR. Okay. Uh, Let me just repeat it. We have a metrics called a AARRR. These metrics is called a pirate metrics. What do we mean by pirate metrics? Basically, acquisition, activation, retention, revenue, referral. Okay. Let me just repeat it. Acquisition. You are trying to acquire. How are users finding our product in the first place? Then you have something called a activation. Are the users experiencing the initial value? Then you have retention, which is more important. Are the users are coming back and continuing to use the, because see, acquiring every customer comes with a cost. You have something called acquisition cost. So don't lose a customer. If you are losing out a customer, then it will create a ripple effect negatively. So we have a metric called a retention. Then we have revenue. Quite obvious. Are we generating business value or a revenue? Then you have a referral. Okay. Does our customers are recommending our product or service to someone else, right? So based on that AARR only, I have put this particular image over here. Okay, because you acquire a huge mass, out of that a subset will get activated, out of it the subset will be retained for a longer period, and you have something called the customer lifetime value. Different customers give you different value, right? And because some customers will be with you for 6 months, 1 year, some customers may be continuing the business for 5 years. So not all customers are equal. So those metrics also we may need to pull in and then show it in the dashboard. Now, can you people tell me, based on what I told you, um, some key importance of this. See, basically, I have summarized it to you, but I just wanted to hear from you. When you create a product analytics dashboard, what is that you will try to show over there? Can you just give your thoughts? You are creating a dashboard, no, to show the performance or how are we currently doing. Can you tell me what basically on a high level? Yeah.
Um, Accuracy rates. If suppose if you are creating a product,
Hmm.
the related accuracy rate of success
Okay.
and waiting the pending work item, for example, in the negative
Hmm.
side. These are two for examples, but it can be
Okay.
more.
Okay. Yeah, yeah. So, based on the CSAT, based on the NPS, also we can tell that okay, how many customers have been referred, what is the revenue, what is the growth rate, how many active users. So, when someone is asking you, guys, I need a metrics for this, ask them back who is going to consume the metrics, because for the same context an executive report may slightly need to have a different set of metrics, whereas an operational review team may have a different set of metrics. Don't give metrics we even without understanding who are the people who are going to use the metrics report. Okay, so those things we will cover later, but all that I'm trying to say is in the analytics dashboard there should be a product usage section. For example, my daily active users, my monthly active users, my feature usage index. You can focus here in this diagram, no? User activation funnel, and we have something called the retention analysis. See, the point is like this, no? Different sets of data are represented in a slightly different pictorial manner, but the underlying mechanism from a systems thinking approach, all these are integrated. No, you cannot have a drastic change in feature adoption and then show in the segmentation something else. Means all that I'm trying to say is when you are creating different charts, make sure that the charts are not contradicting. If it is contradicting, somewhere something went wrong. So you may need to do that quick checks and balances before publishing the data. So here we actually look into the session duration, the funnel conversion, right? And also you may need to see that okay, I am able to retain these many users based on some logical grouping. Okay, so what is that grouping? What are the different manners? Well, basically we will cover in the class. Now to give a AI flavor to this, the tokens consumed, cost per query, hallucination rate, copilot usage. These are all some of the AI kind of AA kind of a metrics. In last week webinar, I told right last weekend. First you put the manual. First you put the the traditional metrics. Then on the right side, think through. It is not mandatory that all traditional metrics will have a one-to-one mapping with the AI metrics. Wherever not applicable, you can put a NA. But that mapping should be there. It is not that you just know AI metrics or you just know traditional metric. No, that mapping should be there. Okay. All right. I think it's time to go to the next slide. Okay. Okay. Here we will slowly shift the gear. See, now if you see this right in chapter 6 only, we are beginning with the generative AI. Okay. So till chapter 5. So definitely 7 to 8 classes we will cover up the basics. We will make our fundamentals very strong so that the soil is prepared before we sow the seed of a AI. As simple as that. So here we are going to talk about what is an LLM, what do you mean by a RAG, what do you mean by a tokenization, vector DB. You have something called the embeddings. All these concepts we will introduce, and something called pre-training, fine-tuning, supervised learning, unsupervised learning, reinforcement learning. You have different in while you are putting your machine learning, you still need to know whether it's a labeled data or what. Based on the data, you have different types of learnings, right? So those basic concepts we will be introducing it here. Okay. I'm just thinking. Okay, so here you may also know some basics here. Okay, of a AI literacy. What is that? You have your AI, then you have something called a machine learning, and a subset of machine learning or an advancement of machine learning is called a deep learning. And from the deep learning, you actually go to the generative AI, because understand something, in generative AI is generating something new or perceived new based on the existing contents and also based on the prompt what you are giving. So here you need to know LLM, tokens, prompting, context window, fine tuning, RAG, embedding, vector DB. These concepts you may need to know, because understand one thing, whenever a AI gives something like as a text response, it is not creating, it is predicting. No. In the webinar, I told you people, twinkle, twinkle, little, then what will come? A string called STAR. Why? Because in the vector DB, the embeddings have been written in such a manner, the position or the coordinates of the word STAR is very closer here. So it is going to check and then predict the next number. It is not actually thinking, right? As we all know. So how is that that prediction happens? You need to know little bit that inner details. Why? Tomorrow, if you're working as a AI product manager, you will be talking to a data lead. You will talk to a data analyst. You will talk to a data scientist. At that time, if we don't know these basics, it will be very difficult to run the show. So we will cover these things over there. And in the next slide, in the AI product architecture, we'll go a little bit, but here I'm just trying to cover on the high level. And in the AI product architecture, you may still need to know, okay, here you need to know what are the system components, what are the underlying mechanism which happens in a AI response, no? So here from the user, okay, using some kind of an interface or an application, a user is giving a prompt. Okay, that prompt goes as an input to the LLM. Then it from there it goes and hits the vector DB. From the vector DB, it is hitting the enterprise data. Then from that only you are getting the response. So how do you select the model? All these things you may need to know. See here, the expectation is that product managers are not going to code this, but you need to know the underlying system architecture. Point number one. Point number two is, without knowing these concepts, it will be difficult for you to evaluate whether AI is actually producing quality response or not. Right? So from that perspective, you may need to know this basic concepts. See, I'm actually deliberately keeping it very lightweight here because this is just an introduction class. If I start explaining everything block by block, then it will become actual class. So basically, I'm not getting into the details. So here you need to cover all these concepts. Okay, now can someone make a guesswork here? What could be the difference between prompt engineering and the context engineering? Just say from a high level, no? Please don't read what I put in the slide. You tell your like your thought process. What is the difference? Can you please unmute and then tell what would be the difference between prompt engineering and the context engineering? Hope we are doing good, right? Okay, we are doing good. Okay. Say in simple English, no? What is prompt engineering? What is context engineering? What happened? Is someone talking on mute by mistake? Okay.
Uh,
Okay. Yeah. What is the difference?
Prompt engineering, I believe it's like, you give certain questions, or like, you just ask questions in a proper way, and you get the, response for the questions that you ask. For the context, instead of asking a question, you give the situation and
Hmm.
background and all, and then based on that, it gives you a customized response for that you know situation that you're giving.
Correct. So let me give a real, a simple example here. Prompt engineering. Balaji is writing a prompt now. See, prompt engineering is simply like designing the instructions that we give to the AI. So Balaji is writing a prompt. Act as a product manager. Generate a PRD. Generate a product requirements document for a food delivery app. Use a professional tone. This is what I am putting in my prompt. So, prompt engineering typically focuses on the role, the task, instructions, constraints, output format. Why? Because you need to tell the role so that the user persona is being defined. You need to tell the task, generate a PRD, and you need to put an instructions over there, use a professional tone, and you can even put some prompt saying that okay, selectively pick up only these things, or you give me the output in a PDF file. Those things should will come in the prompt engineering. Whereas context engineering is a something you are it is something like you are designing everything the AI need to know before it answers. So instead of saying create a PRD, I'm actually giving more data elements to the context in terms of the inputs from the product roadmap, my Jira stories, my customer interviews, enterprise policies, previous conversation history, my user preferences, my knowledge base, everything I am giving. So context engineering is the practice of providing the right info, instructions, memory, tools, constraints into an AI system so that it will provide high quality, no high quality output. So typically in a RAG, right, retrieval augmented generation, context engineering is heavily used. Okay. So in the session, we will cover one by one, one by one. Okay, but this is the high level view. Okay, fine. Now we will keep going. Okay. See now, okay. One more important point. What I like to tell you people is, if you want to understand all these things in a little bit in a deep manner, you may need to know the fundamentals of a data science life cycle. Okay, so what some YouTube videos in my own YouTube, also in that one more channel I have some videos which I will send it to you. I wanted you people to just little bit understand the theory part of data science life cycle, like your data collection, exploratory data analysis, we call it as a EDA, and you have something called a principal component analysis, curse of a dimensionality reduction. Okay, so why do you need to know those concepts? Because those concepts will align your thinking in terms of these. While you are thinking to infuse your AI into your PDLC, that model need to be built. That model need to be continuously trained. So what is a model? Why do we? Okay, what are the limitations of the model? These things you will understand better if you have some background of a data science. So spend some time on that data science, and then if you understand an AI product architecture, you can appreciate it in a much more better manner. Okay, so that thing please keep in mind. Okay, now let's keep going. Okay, here we are going to talk about the trust factor, right? You have built a and you have, let's say that a product has been built using a AI. I will give a real time example. In one of the company, let's say they have built a product called a Prodify. What this Prodify is going to do, this Prodify is going to pull your metrics from your Jira, or it is going to pull your metrics from your ADO, Azure DevOps, and then it is going to generate beautiful customized reports by the click of a button. Okay, now let's say, but what is the so what we used to do before we deploy the Prodify to multiple customers or clients, we need to validate the Prodify. So what we used to do, whatever the output the Prodify gives, we go back to the ADO and write a query, and then see whether my query output syncs up with the output given by the Prodify. So one of the biggest challenges in the AI product is, how am I going to reduce the hallucination? How am I going to improve the reliability factor? How am I going to evaluate the AI output. How am I going to bringing the feedback loop mechanism? Because these are critical for enterprise AI adoption. Because using AI at a team level is something different from using a AI at a portfolio level, enterprise level, right? So sometimes hallucination will happen. Simple English, no? Hallucinate means what? Hallucination occurs when an AI model is generating an info which sounds convincing and confident, but actually it is a fault. Your AI is giving you an incorrect output, but the way it is giving is you are getting that feel as if it's a correct thing. So so sometimes you may need to explicitly validate the source from where the input is being given, because it is getting fabricated. Okay, so those concepts will be dealt over here. Why are we doing this? We are doing this for one simple thing: there should be a governance even for AI, right? We have something called a responsible AI, right? So in terms of your governance, in terms of your compliance and regulations, also evaluating the AI, having some checks and balances on the quality is actually mandatory. Okay. Now you think practically. Your BFSA will have some FATCA, JATCA, some kind of a regulatory mechanism. Your healthcare will have some kind of a regulatory mechanism. So when you are designing your AI system and trying to validate, you need to have the domain knowledge and your functional expertise capability. Because if you are not solid in that background, you cannot even expect AI to do the magic over there. It will only amplify the things. So those concepts also you may need to know as a product manager while you are talking to your QA guys. All because gone are the days where testing is viewed as a separate activity. Nowadays we are working on built-in quality right from the beginning, right? You need to know what kind of questions to ask, right? So for that, I kept this particular chapter. See, every chapter when I keep it, there is a reason behind it, and I'm keeping this chapter at no 8 chapters so that the introduction of AI is been put over there already. Then you come to the validation phase. Okay, I'm just thinking 1 minute. Okay. So if I want to use some other better word here, how are you going to have your AA guardrails? You need to have a guardrails, right? Those guardrails will be thought over here. Okay. We will take a case study. We will see why this guardrail exists in the actual class. Now let's keep moving in the interest of time. Here we'll talk about your AI agents. And once you see, I may need to think through on how to simulate an agent for you people using a co-pilot. Also, we can do it. But this is something which I'm actually planning still. It's not freezed from my end. But luckily, this comes in the chapter 9. By the time we complete the 8th chapter, I will be having more clarity to demonstrate this. So here, no, as you know, right here, okay, what is a AI agent? You are trying to understand some kind of a autonomous system which will do the work on behalf of the people, right? So you have okay. If I want to give an example, right? You have research agent, you have your coding agent, you have your customer support agent. So creating that particular so here you see the word, right? Model context protocol, MCP. This is a foundation layer for the enterprise AI ecosystem, right? So that's why we are actually discussing that context engineering in chapter 7, then trying to discuss about a chapter in the chapter 9. We will actually discuss about the AI agent automation, and most importantly, how does it fit into the gamut of a product ownership and the product landscape. That plugging is very important. You are understanding the concept, okay, but for my user persona as a product owner, product manager, how I can leverage it back. Okay, this is also you may need to keep in mind. So you may need to have some connectors which will talk to other real-time data, pull the data. Pulling the data is actually one part. Business embedding rules need to be created on the decision making. Agent means it should make an action also, not just connecting to the system. Okay, we will keep it light because it's a introduction class. I'm just deliberately keeping it very light. Okay, So when I send you the recording and the slides, please go through it once again so that no, it is getting imbibed for you. Now, one more important point which we have not spoken till now is your UX. Because building an AI product is not just about the technology, right? You also need to have that conversational experience. So that like your native UX, you may have some UI UX guidelines. See, we have lot of tools, and gone are the days where you are going to sit and create a prototype. By the click of a button, we have some tools which will give you the prototyping, but still you may still need to validate the prototype given here. So can any of you share your experience? No, just wanted to know from your experience in your current projects, are you people really doing prototyping, or what actually happens, or you are only focusing on the execution part? You might have heard of these terms, no, in the design thinking also, UI UX guidelines. You want to share anything here? Okay, so then I will continue. So here, in the UI UX world, basically while we are doing it, no, basically I will showing you some Figma, some kind of a prototyping, and okay, how to generate the UI. See, actually speaking, in the AI world, you should be able to generate the screen or the visual thing from the prompt, right? Because actually what happens, you may need to create a wireframe diagram and then quickly show it to your customer or the end user to get the feedback. Then based on the changes to the prototype, you may need to little bit change your strategy, your design, your code workflow. So everything is integrated here, right? So for example, no, I'll just give a simple example. You may need to create a banking dashboard for a wealth management users. Let's say this is a prompt. So the moment you give this prompt to an AI, at least it will give you some kind of a Figma AI assisted workflow, right? And then you can take that, okay, why are we doing this will accelerate for you to do rapid MVP creation and validation, right? That is the main reason we are trying to infuse AI into it, so that predictive heat maps, your UX, like your okay, like basically your UX recommendations no will not take no more time. Basically, if not, it will be going across the teams. I have seen lot of teams who have taken even that prototype validation for a long time. Okay, so in the session we will cover, but these are all the things which we need to keep in mind. See, for example, you may need to know, okay, when someone uses the term React UI, you need to know what is a React UI. What do you mean by a React code, and how it is getting integrated with the Figma? Why are we using this? All these things you may need to know at a high level. Okay. Apart from that, I don't see anything that you are really going to do here. Okay, you may need to do that enablement or a facilitation with the different teams as far as the UI UX guidelines are considered. Okay. Okay, now the constraint here is, how am I going to scale it at a larger platform? I have built a AI product. Now I need to take it across the masses or the crowd, right? So what could be the mechanism to do it? So building a AI product is only the beginning. The real challenge is the growth, right? So here we will be talking about your pricing strategies, go-to-market strategy, and you have a concept called growth loops and product-led growth. So these are all the things which we will be seeing. Why this is very important? This will take your thinking from a manager to a business leader. Ultimately, the product, while it is getting launched, it need to be focusing on the growth, right? So those related concepts will be dealt over here. Okay. See, now just for this, here I just put ChatGPT, Notion AA, Canva, GitHub Copilot. It is not that we will be using only these tools. For discovery itself, you have 5 to 6 tools. For designing, validating, you have 5 to 6 tools. This is just an indicative. So don't go by literally by only these tools. Okay. And I told you that AARRR, right? That same concept has been put over here. Okay, and okay, let's say that you have built the product and then you have actually deployed the product. How are you going to monetize it? What are the different variations when it come to monetization of the product? What are the subscription mechanisms? Okay, how am I going to position the licensing strategy for the product? Anything and everything which takes your product across the global audience and which multiplies the revenue, those things need to be dealt over here. Okay, so building a product is only the beginning of the game. Fine, I'll keep moving. I just want to 1 second wait. Just trying to pull out something. So growth is okay. Uh, okay, so here one more point I like to tell. Here, what are we going to now? Some more points to cover here is okay, how is my licensing is getting positioned? It is on a usage based or on a subscription model, or how is that is actually going to be positioned? See, the thing is that no, when we were having some real time conversations with the Atlassian group. Okay, I'm just giving an example. So some 15 days back, we were actually having a conversation with Atlassian to use some of the products integrated into our test suite and all. So at that time, some kind of a discussion came. If you are going by option one, these are the benefits which comes at a cost price of some some kind of a dollar value. If you are going with this particular subscription model, this is the, but then this model comes with a limitation. So the pricing strategies, those concepts will come over here, because now you have already completed building the know the product. Here we are going to talk about positioning the product to the next level. Okay, that should be good enough. Okay, now here what are we trying to do is, okay, how am I going to use the AI for my market research, competitor analysis, creating a PRD, creating a roadmap, risk analysis, my backlog refinement, all these concepts will be dealt over here. See, this slide is kind of a summary view, okay? Whatever we have seen till now, how am I going to put it in a very structured and organized manner so that it is easy for me to uh, consume. Now, see, understand one thing. Let's say that you are going to create your own kind of a search engine. You still need to call a GPT at the back end, right? So, in one of the class, I will be spending 1 hour explaining you what are the different AI product managers. You have some applied PMs. You have a lot of variants in that, because product manager, okay, one category of product manager will be using AI to do their work. The another category of product managers are technical product managers. They are actually building the core technical platform, like your GPT, your model. Chat GPT is a tool, GPT is a model. So even if you are building your own search engine, it still need to call out some model within it, whether it is from GPT or Claude or DeepSeek. That is a secondary question, right? So those concepts and all you may need to know. Okay. So little bit on the engineering side. Okay. And then how are you actually mapping it back to your work? So when I send these slides, please don't treat these slides as watertight compartments. Okay. That's my say. That flow you may need to understand. Okay. Here we are talking about responsible AI. Once the governance part has been taken care, I'm going to talk about promoting my product to huge, like a volume. I'm going to increase the volume of the users. So what I need to do, and then this is a consolidation slide for actually, see here I have packaged all the things here. So in these slides, if you look into these slides, what you need to do, every slide, if you see here, 1 second, I put here learning outcomes. in a particular class, let's say we are going to discuss this in three classes. What is the learning outcome and what is the assignment wherein I can validate my learning outcome? So please connect the dots and then read while you are looking into the slides. Okay. So these things and all we will cover later, but I just wanted to give a high level. See, in this slide, little bit on the engineering side, right? Your AI, like your AI infrastructure, your deployment, your scalability, your okay. Product managers may not need this much of a depth, but I wanted you people to at least know the theory part of it, so that when you have conversations, you are not looking as a odd one in the group. For that reason, I have put this particular concept over here. Here you may need to know some concepts like a prompt pipeline, model routing, how are you using your caching techniques, inference, latency optimization. These things are bit technical, but we will see how to make it easy for you people. So here you are actually, see, hope you remember sometime back we had one slide called AI product architecture. Now you are actually trying to understand what happens behind the screen. How does your AI actually work? So these are all the layers inside it. Okay, this is how the data flows. So in one of the class, I will be explaining you this. Okay, and we'll see how to have that practicality in terms of any assignment or anything that I can showcase you. Okay. So from that point of view, I put this particular slide. As it says, it is an advanced AI system. You are actually understanding the foundation of the building. Okay, like the blueprint of your AI landscape in this particular slide. Okay. Okay, this is something what I have conceptualized and kept it ready. Here, what we can do is we'll start building a AI product. So I put it as a buildathon. Like you have your code hackathons, right? I just used a word called a buildathon because you let's say you have learned so many things. So can you start identifying a real-time problem and you validate the demand, and then you create a product strategy, you write a PRD, you build a MVP, then you even in your local host you can launch it and then show it to us and gather some kind of a feedback. So I actually kept this particular parking lot for you people. Okay. And once we are done with all these things which we have covered it, see, these things will take 4.5 months. Okay. So please have some patience. I will make sure that whatever I can do from my end, you also need to go through the recording, start connecting the dots. In the second class or in the third class, I'm going to give you the book recommendation. Okay, these are all the books to become a great product manager. You may need to go through those books. So it will take to, by the time we come to this slide, it will be minimum 4.5 months completed. So here, then we will kickstart with this particular activity. And once we are done with this activity, we will go to your LinkedIn profile, resume building, branding, your product, because case study will anyway be covered as and when we progress. Here we will also talk about our portfolio creation. What other working items you can put it on the GitHub or whatever be the platform or the Git, and like primarily show it to the external world. Okay. So this is the thing what I planned. Okay, now let's do one thing. I will stop sharing. Let me take any quick like no questions if you have people. You want to ask me any questions? Or are you okay with this?
You're not clear with your report.
Sure. Okay. Now let me do one thing. I'll just share it back. Okay. Now I'm just going to give you a summary view. Okay. Just a minute. Okay. I'll just once again put it in the slideshow. I'll anyway put the first slide, and then but I'm just going to give you a summary view now. Okay. See. So if I wanted to give you a summary view, if you want, you take some notes also, running notes. We are going to start with understanding the product management, right? And then we are actually going to discover the right customer problems in the chapter 2. Chapter 3, we are going to define the strategy and the roadmap. then how to convert that idea into requirements, how do you funnel it inside your agile execution cycle, then how are you going to create a dashboard or an analytics to measure the success, then slowly shifting the gear to generative AI fundamentals, understanding the AI product architecture, evaluating the AI quality, then building the AI agents, kind of an automation, all those things. Then how do you take care of the like your UI UX, your trustworthy AI experience? Then how are you going to scale your AI product for growth? Then a consolidations class, how to become a high leverage product manager, understand enterprise level AI engineering, what are the building blocks, what happens behind the screen, what do you mean by a lang chain, what do you see when someone uses these terms, at least you need to know in which particular bucket or category it actually fits into. Then we had something like a build-a-thon, then we will have some interview preparation, mock-up, case studies, this thing, that thing, all these things. Okay. Now let me put a small caveat here. As on date, whatever knowledge and capability I am having, I have summarized it in the slides for this particular program. But basically, I am also learning, right? So in the next 4 to 5 months, if I find some other topic is of paramount importance, I will be adding those particular topics also. Okay, this is an indicative or a tentative approach for now. If I feel the need, okay, this topic need to be there, then I will come back and then add a slide. Okay, so we will take a pause here. It will be too much for you people if I keep on explaining further. Okay, let me do one thing. I will basically end the recording now.